If you wanna stay with me, if you wanna try, maybe you could be with me, but only for the night.
Hi there, welcome back to the Board Game Specialists. I'm Carla,
And I'm Melanie.
and today we're talking about our top 9 economic games. Now, this is one of my favorite genres. What about you, Mel? Do you
Yeah,
love
this is what I
economic games?
like. I do like it. I used to teach stock investments, so I think a lot of economic games will like include stock games. So then it's kind of an instant nostalgia, I guess.
Yeah. And it kind of brings back the days of the old stock ticker game,
Yeah,
a little bit of Monopoly, but that's mostly luck. And it just was something that was started very young when I enjoyed, having to build up something or, produce something, build something up. And that's kind of what I got from the definition of an economic game. You usually may have some production in the game where you have to make something out of something else and then possibly sell it or increase the
yeah.
stock, lower the
There's some
stock,
sort of
that kind
currency
thing.
involved.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
growing up,
that's
Payday was
Payday
like
was a
one of
good
the
one too.
game we played again and again and again.
Yeah,
So
that one was a good one too. I still have that one in my
nice.
nostalgic games.
Oh, that'll be a list we'll have to do.
Yeah, that's true.
There
The
you
best
go.
nostalgic games. 'Cause there was a few good ones back in the day that
Right? Yeah.
that stood out. Yeah. But before we get into that, we're going to talk about a couple of our recent plays.
Yes.
And the first one I'm going to talk about is Kanban EV. Now, I had kind of surpassed this game because of theme alone. I'm
Right.
not really into vehicles at all, not really into making vehicles. It's not my love. But hearing people talk about this game as a lot of them, it's their favorite Vital Lacerda game, which is the designer of this game. And I have recently playing a few of his that I have. And so I thought, oh, I wonder if I should check this game out. So I kind of watched some videos and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, there are kind of some really cool mechanics there. And then I borrowed your version, which was
That's
the
right.
first
The old
version.
one, yeah.
It's very, very similar. Like there's just a few tweak changes.
Oh, good to know.
And I really liked it. So you cannot buy that game anymore unless you find it used. So I bought a copy of this from my friend, a used copy, and I had planned to teach it at my retreat in a couple weeks here. So I played it with my husband. I tried it kind of two-handed solo, and then I'm going to play it today at my game day just so I
Nice.
can get my teach down. But what you're doing in this game is you are designing and making electric cars. And there's different areas in the factory that you can go. It's a worker placement game. You only have one worker. So you go to one area each day and you have to go to a different area each day or the next day. You can never stay in the same area. And so the different things you're doing is you're grabbing designs of cars. So they're just little tiles that will have a car and a specific color on them and possibly an graded part that you can upgrade eventually. You will go to the parts section and grab different parts for vehicles because I think there's 5 or 6 different parts. But when you go to make one of the vehicles, you always have to put a different part in for each vehicle. Like some require 3, 4, 5 parts, and you can never have the same part. Now, the neat thing is you don't have to fill it up completely to actually move it along the assembly line. Every time you place a part in one of the colored cars, you will start to move the car along the assembly line. And when it moves, it's going to push other vehicles out. As it pushes them out, one will eventually pop out and go onto the test track. And there's this little silver test car that it goes behind, and there's like a little tiny racetrack around that you'll sit them on, and they'll move around there, which is there for kind of a timer of the game, but also it's another area where you can go to just take one of those cars, put it in your garage. You have 5 different garages on your player mat, and then it's going to give you a bonus and will score you points possibly at the end of the game. But also, you may have already upgraded one of those parts. That's another thing you can do. And then you now have a tested design. That'll also give you points later on. But the neat thing is, like I said, you only have one worker, so you go to these spots. Well, now there's also this factory manager, and her name is Sandra. And it's funny because it's actually the designer's wife's name. And you can play with nice Sandra or mean Sandra.
I wondered if they kept that in the
They
new
did.
version. Yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
they did. There's the option. Most people play with the mean because it's like it makes it more challenging, the game. I played with nice Sandra with my husband just to teach him. I didn't want to scare him away from the game. So now he understands it. We'll probably have to try it the other way, but it's neat because she will go to a different area every round too. And if she's mean, she's judging you all on something. And if she's nice, she will reward the top person who's in doing something in a certain area. But she also changes things that happen there. She'll clear out parts. She'll move the test car around the track to increase the timer, or to quicken the timer. She'll, if she's in her administration room, you'll have a meeting and you will score different things at the end of the week.
Right.
But the meetings are neat because you have these little speech bubbles that you can acquire throughout the game, winning different goals or just doing different training, because you can train in every area as well. And as you train, you're going to get certified, and then you're going to open up more actions for yourself. But in this meeting, there's all these different goal cards that you can place your little speech bubble on. And it's thematic because they say that it's you're bringing up ideas to her. And then some of the cards will have 2 or 3 different spots to put them. But the first one that gets to put them there is going to get more points. And then as it goes, it's lower because she's sick of hearing the same thing over and over.
Oh, Sandra.
Yeah. It's funny. But it's all so thematic and flows, which I find a lot of his games do. And once you kind of explain it, it all kind of makes sense. The graphic design by Tool is just phenomenal because everything on there is explained in his graphic design. So you can kind of look and be like, oh, this is what this action does, and it follows the steps and everything. It's just an awesome game. And the real only changes from the first to the second is you can't replace cars in your garage, which isn't that real big of a deal. Typically, I don't think a whole lot of people will fill their garage anyway.
Right.
And then there was one more little thing. It's pretty minor. Oh, instead of speech bubbles, you're using these chairs, meeting chairs.
Right.
So it's just a different type of resource. But really, that's, I think, all other than there's like a little expansion in this one.
So the element stays very the same.
It's really like some people have sold this one just to go back to the old one. They found the old one.
Oh, really?
They find it just fine, just less expensive. And
so I'm good to keep my original copy.
Yes, you are. It's totally perfect as well. But it's an awesome game and could have probably fit in this category we're talking about today.
Right, yeah.
But I had just kind of finally revised my decision on it, and this was after I made this list. So
you weren't tweaking it.
So I wasn't. I couldn't have put it on the list, but it could have probably made this list because you're producing and then outputting things, which is basically economics. But
yes.
What about you? What's your game you're talking about today?
Yeah. So this is a game that me and you played. And then me and Lee played correctly.
Did you?
And that's Black Friday. So now this, I put the picture of the version that I have, which is like an older copy. It's been reprinted in 2023. So there's a newer copy out there. And I mean, the newer copy is cool. My copy works just as well. With the new version, they've removed the loans, basically. So you have starting money instead of loans that you would collect and have to pay interest on.
Did you play that way evenly?
No, actually, I still played it with the loans, and it worked great. So I don't know that it needs to be replaced. Mind you, you could use the old version and just not play with the loans and just have startup money. So you could play with that way. Because when I watched the tutorial video, I didn't realize there was 2 versions and which one I had. So I was watching the new version. But otherwise, the gameplay is very similar. Now, when me and you played, we messed it up. And you ran out of money and ran out of shares, and you're like, well, I can't play anymore. Like, what's
I know,
because
I kept buying too much silver.
And and then the silver hadn't moved hardly at all.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is every time a black share comes out, so when we pull 1 or when we pull 2 or whatever, every black suitcase that comes out moves the price share as well. And we weren't doing that. The silver, yeah,
price.
So that would have been creeping up quite a bit. Yeah. So you wouldn't have spent all your money on silver because you wouldn't have had enough money to do that, right?
Exactly.
So we played it again, and actually it's really interesting, and I really like the price manipulation in this game. Because what happens is you can do 3 things. You can buy shares, you can sell shares, or you can just pass. But when you buy shares, it depends on what's available in the market and then what price it's at. And then you'll buy, and the amount of shares that you buy depends on what level you've reached, because you can only buy 1. And eventually a few levels later, you'll be able to do 2 or 3 shares and so on. So when you're buying just the 1 share, say, okay, well, the share, they all start at $7 to be like, okay, so I'm going to buy a share, $7. Here's my $7. I take the share and I put it behind my screen so nobody can see. And then you also add the share that you purchase from the market, that same color, you add it to the purchase track. And this will kind of be a track that'll keep track of when the price gets adjusted. So you'll be doing that. Now, if you sell a share, then you'll just take a share from behind your screen. You do start with 5 random shares, and then you'll sell it at the current price. And then you also take one from there's like a market tracker, whatever thing. And then you'll take one of those colored shares and add it to the market. So when you sell, extra shares get added to the market. Or you can pass. And then if you pass, you will add a stock to the gold track or the silver track. Now you can also purchase when you buy, you could buy a sell or silver, but you can never sell your silver. You have them for forever. But the silver is victory points. That's the goal, is whoever has the most silver at the end of the game wins the game. So once you reach the end, and the end of the game is triggered by when the price of silver reaches 100. So guaranteed your silver eventually will be worth 100. So when it reaches that level, the game ends immediately. You sell all your shares at the current market, and then you buy all the silver that you can, and whoever has the most silver is the winner. Now, when those track, like every time you add a share to like the purchase track or the silver track, when one of those fill up, and there's 5 of them in there, it creates a market reset. So based on the level that you're at, if you're still in the first level, I think you pull 5 out of the bag. So you go into the bag and you pull 5 stocks, and depending on how many comes out, how the price gets affected. So when you add stocks to those lineups, because those will then go back in the bag, you're trying to manipulate which ones are going to be in the bag. So it'd be like, okay, well, I have a lot of orange shares. I'm going to try to get some orange shares in there so that it's more likely the orange shares come out when we draw from the bag and those price go up. But so when the price goes up, and if the one comes out, then you're going to move the token for the price tag up 1 in this chart. So if you were at 7, then you would be at 12. Now, if you did 2, then you're going to go up 1 and then over 1. So you would go from 7 up to 12 and then over to 14. And you have like the different colored, so when you reach a different color kind of I don't know, step ladder style, then you reach the next level. And that's where you flip the level cards that'll determine how much you can purchase, how much you draw from the bag, and so on. Then after you've manipulated all the price, now we got to mention, if nothing comes out, then it lowers the price of the stocks, and they go backwards by one. So if you're at 7, then you'd be down at 6. And if you go, and if like at the end you've kind of added all of the new stocks to the market, because the one you pull out then joins the market, and you put them in the market, if a stock that has no stocks in it, it increases demand, so then that will increase its price value as well. So you'll be adjusting that. So just how it moves around on the board is really interesting. But then as you play the game, black markets will get added to the bag. And every time you pull one of those out, now if it's just one, nothing happens except that it moves the price of silver, supposed to, and then it goes back in the bag. But if you pull 2 or more, then it counts as a negative value towards the stocks. So now your price of stock, instead of just going up, could come back down. And it was like, I had so many, I think it was like blue stocks. I had like, when I played with Leah, I had like 6 of them, and it like it kept going down, and I was down to like, it was worth $6. I'm like, this, like I paid 20 for them. Like, so you do have like that, supply and demand, and you're trying to buy low and sell high. And, so that whole aspect is really interesting. I quite enjoy it. My version has paper money, which was okay. I think the newer version, I can't remember if it also has paper money. When me and you played, we played it with coins, I think. We just pulled out coins because, we have metal coins. So you could do that if you don't like the paper money aspect
or something.
Something like that, yeah. But yeah, it was very interesting. Now it's a stock game, so if this is something that you don't enjoy, you're probably not going to enjoy this list all that much. But I really get into these. Like I said, it's nostalgia for me, so I really enjoy the stock games. And definitely playing it correctly made a big difference. So, because all of a sudden the silver is like $62, so it's like, if your stocks are like at 7, it makes more sense to concentrate on buying and trying to increase the price of stocks than just trying to buy all the silver at that point, because you wouldn't have enough funds. But we got our stock price was up like, I think 167, some of them towards the end there. So it was really cool. I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed it when me and you played, but obviously we had broken the game. So when me and Lee played, I really, really enjoyed it.
Good. Yeah, I want to try it again, and probably be fun with lots of people, because doesn't it go up to like 5 people?
Yeah, so I think it would kind of manipulate the price quite a bit more, right? So it would be interesting. Yeah.
It'd be fun.
Yeah.
All right. And so that definitely fits our category of economic games as well. So everything we're talking about.
And it was on my list, but it wasn't quite in the top 9 because we had only played it like that one time. So I figured, I was like, well, I still want to talk about it. So that's why I made it my recent play.
Perfect. All right. So let's get into this list that we have. Now, I had made my list, and then you came for a game day. Yes. We played quite a few economic games, and so I'm like, okay, I gotta change it now. So this one actually made the top of my list, only because I've played it once. I really enjoyed it, but this was your game, and this was called Shipyard. So this is by Vladimir Suchy. Now, you had said you had gotten this gift card from Amazon, and you sent in our group chat, oh, which of these 3 games should I buy? And I'm like, I think you should buy Shipyard.
Yes.
So you brought it and we played it, and I'm so glad I suggested it, and we both really liked it. But what this one is what you were doing is you were building these ships, and then you were kind of sailing them. Now you have this big player board with all this space, and you think, what am I going to do with all this space? And then you have this little thing on the side where you're going to collect things before you put them on your ship. And so the action selection in this is quite neat, because it's not a rondel, but it's a strip of actions, and you're going to choose one with your cube, and you'll take that action. But then if there's any cubes to the right of you, you're going to collect excuse me, income off them. So if there's like 2 cubes to the right of you, you're going to get to take $2. Money is really tight, so it's important to try to do that, but sometimes you want to take the action that is far right and you'll get nothing. Now, the actions are all kind of on this wheel, and it's interesting because some of them are in the center little, there's like 4 actions, and then it kind of the next circle around it, there's like a few more, but they're all different. So you're either, hiring crew for your ship, you're either getting these little good chips so that you can go and trade them in the market, and either trade them for crew or equipment or money. The other thing you can do is pick up these like cannons, cranes, and then the sails for your ship. But then the neat thing also is you have to go and get actual ship slots that you're going to build your ship with. So you have to kind of plan things out quite intricately, because if you don't plan, the sections you're going to use for your boat, the things that you have to be able to fit on there. And if you have, say, a crane, but you don't have a crane holder, which you need, you're not going to be able to put that on your boat. And so, or a ship. So once you have kind of completed your ship and it's ready to sail, you will push it up to the top, and you will have had to have gotten some sort of like a ship trail tile that you will move your little boat around. So you take this little tiny wooden boat and you're going to move it around, and it'll some of the little stops are going to give you little bonuses, and will let you score your ship again, possibly, because you will score your ship depending on what you have on it. I think if you always have, like, there's certain things, then you're always going to get like a certain amount of points. But if you don't, you're going to get less points. You may have some add-ons that'll give you more points, but it's tricky to, get the exact parts and get the things you need and the spots for everyone. But there's also, on the action selection thing, you can do on the outer circle, there's little tiles that give you different bonuses. So you can, just put a crane on your ship, even if you don't have the slot. You can add extra sails. You can add people, even if you don't have the beds for them, kind of thing. And it's really cool how it all worked. It gave me a little bit of feel of Messina 1347, where when you had to place the people in the quarantine, it kind of had a little feel of that, where you have to have the spots for them, and then you have to have the correct beds and whatnot. But this one was really cool. We played it pretty fast. Like, it didn't take that long, I don't think, because the decisions are, they're still complicated decisions, but you just kind of figure out what kind of ship you want to build, and then you kind of take those actions. And it took, I think there's 4 or 5 rounds, because as you're doing these actions, this little wheel's turning, and once it kind of comes around to like where the little cube kind of drops in this thing, that's kind of ends the round, and then you will do another one. And I think it was 4 or 5 rounds, and then we finished. And there's a little bit of end game scoring, but not a whole lot. It's mostly scoring in the game, but it's really cool. I really enjoyed this game, and that's my number 9, Shipyard.
Yeah, that was a good suggestion. It was a good game. I'm glad I got it. It does have a few because the boards are layered, but you have to stick it on, so there's a little bit of like crafts involved. But and one thing I'll point out is some of the stuff that you have to stick on the board looks like it'd be garbage, and you would be tempted to just throw it out, but don't. Like, really pay attention what you need to keep before you throw anything out. Yeah. All right, that was a great pick. My number 9, and that one is Acquire. So this is an older game that was revamped, and I bought this one because when Roxley Game did their game Skyrise, they were talking about how it was loosely kind of used Acquire as like I don't know, like as a guide to what they were trying to do. And then I was like, okay, well, I kind of want to try this Acquire game. And it's one that I had on my mind lots, but I had never acquired it, huh? So I got it, I purchased it, and it was so good. It was so good. So you have all of these tiles. It kind of reminds me a lot of um, Foundations of Rome a little bit as well.
Yeah.
So you have these tiles that has like a letter and a number, and it'll fit somewhere in the grid. So you'll have them some in front of you that you know what you got, and then you'll decide when you want to place them. And when you get a cluster of 3, you can add a hotel to it. Now it's this hotel's chain, and you cannot connect, like link one of your hotel chains to another hotel chains, but you don't own the hotel chain. You buy shares in it. So I'd be like, okay, well, this is this hotel, so I'll buy some shares, and you can buy and sell shares of these different hotel chains once they're in place. But like you can, if you connect one chain to another, the smaller chain gets taken over by that other hotel chain. So anybody who has that other, like the smaller hotel, has to sell those shares because it's no longer active. It can come into play again. So you would sell those shares, or you can trade them for the new shares. Like there's a stock split or as well. And then you're doing that, and then you're building this board until at the end of the game is you have all like these huge hotel chains and the ones that are still in play. And then you're going to kind of count up how much value you have of everything. And then whoever has kind of made the most money in this hotel business is the winner. So definitely this is an economic game. It's a stock game with area control. But it's so interesting as you build and kind of build these clusters and trading and buying stocks and trading stocks and all that stuff. Like it was a really interesting game, and kind of be like, okay, I'm going to try to grow this one, because the bigger your chain, the more value the stocks are going to be. And then when you swallow like another hotel, like then the more you can kind of trade for, so it was really interesting. I really enjoyed it. So this is one that, being that it's in, because I believe this game was originally designed before I was born. I think it was designed when my dad was born. So it's like an older game, but it still is such a great quality play. Like I could see why people still talk about it. It's really good game. And it fits this list perfectly. This is definitely an economic game. And that was my number 9, Acquire.
Yeah, this is an oldie. I'm just looking up. 1964 is
Yeah.
the first one that was made. Now, it plays 2 to 6. How many players did you play it with?
Only ever 2, I think.
Oh, okay.
And it was me and Lee when we played it.
Okay. So I wasn't sure if it was a good 2-player. I've played it once a long time ago, but I'm going to have to pull that out again and try it again, because it's a classic for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right. My number 8 is Chocolate Factory. This one is a Matthew Dunstan, Brett J. Gilbert game, and they make a variety of games, like all different kinds of themes and all different kinds of games, different genres, different, like you name it, roll and writes, economic, tiling, like everything. And this one, it drew me to it because of theme, of course. I love chocolate. I mean, who doesn't love chocolate? But
chocolate won you over, huh?
You get to make chocolate in a factory. Well,
Yeah.
that just seems like one of the funnest things to do ever. So I thought this would be like, a nice little easy tile laying game or not tile laying, but just, I don't know, just kind of a cute, like one of those easygoing games. Well, no, this is a very, very tricky game. This conveyor belt mechanic in this is just mind-boggling, because what you're doing is you are trying to make chocolates on your own conveyor belt and then either deliver them to these department stores, or you're going to fill these little corner shop orders. And how you do that is there's a open drafting at the beginning of the round, and you're going to draft parts. So you're going to get a new part every round, and you're also going to draft a factory worker. So it's cool how they lay it out because there's going to be groups of factory workers, like 2 or 3, and then groups of parts. And you're going to choose one of those groups, and then your next turn. So if I chose, say, a group of factory workers, and then I'm going to get to pick one of them for my round, and then my next turn I have to take parts. So it's interesting how it's like a I cut you choose kind of thing, because when they come out, someone is going to get to decide which ones go together, and you kind of want to even it out so they all look good, so that someone isn't just getting the best stuff. But then once you do that, you're going to take your part and you're going to put it on your little conveyor belt, up or down, or sorry, above or below it. And you can cover up old parts, but you have to put it so that you can, produce the best chocolate that you need for that round. Now, the actual factory worker that you drafted gives you a little bonus, but it also has a specific department store that you can deliver to that round. Now, each department store is like a little area control. So you're trying to move up the highest on each track if possible, because at the end you'll get big points if you're the highest up. Now, it's tricky because you also want to deliver to these corner shops because they give you big points too. So you have to kind of balance out, how much am I going to deliver to the department stores and how much am I going to deliver to the corner shops. Now, that part is the easiest, I find. The hard part is the actual conveyor belt, because you have 4 shifts, and so you're going to push one of these tiles like into your conveyor belt, and then you can activate the parts along the conveyor belt, but you need coal to do that. Now, you start out with like a bunch of coal, but some parts are more expensive. Some cost 2-3 coal to run, and then some cost, only 1. So at the beginning, I might be able to turn like a cocoa bean into a piece of chocolate. And then below that one, I might be able to turn that piece of chocolate into like striped chocolate. Because there's like squared chocolate, striped chocolate, and then there's wrapped candy, and then there's boxed chocolate. So there's different things they kind of have. They start at a like 1, and then they move up to the different levels. Now, you can activate each thing on your conveyor belt, but if you spend all your coal, you have 3 more shifts, so you're pushing these cocoa beans through, and if you don't have any more coal, they're just going to stay on that belt and pop out and just be nothing. So it's really trying to plan this conveyor belt, which I find is so tricky. And everyone I teach this game, they're like, oh, let's play this. They think it's going to be so easy. I'm like, well, just so you know, it's not a easy game. And they're like, oh yeah, whatever. It's a chocolate game. It's going to be easy. And they're like, whoa, yeah, this is thinky, because that conveyor belt it messes with you, because you're like, okay, I want this to be here. When it slides over, then I'm going to use this one to turn it into that. Oh, but wait, then I need to get that first one over into chocolate before it comes back this way. And then when it comes off the end, you collect it, or there's one chute you can shoot it up on the third part of your conveyor belt. But you can only store 1 piece of chocolate at the end of the round if you haven't used it to deliver. So if you produce all this chocolate, but you have nowhere to deliver it, it's just going to be turned back into coal, which you can still use as a resource, but you have to figure out how to produce what you need and not waste too much extra, because it'll just turn back to coal, or leave it on the conveyor belt for next time to pop off. And it's just a really, really thinky game, but so cute. Like, the components are amazing. The chocolate pieces look like actual chocolates you would pull out of like a fancy chocolate box. And
yeah, they look cool.
They're just fun to play with, but it is a really cool game. This one is on BGA too. You should try it, because I think people looking at this game would think, oh, I think that looks pretty straightforward. No, it's a mind
more than meets the eye, huh?
Yeah. But that's my number 8, Chocolate Factory.
One looks cool.
Yeah.
Cool. My number 8 is a game where you're running a business, but you're running a TV network, and it's called The Networks. And what's really cool with this one is it's so interesting. So you're going to be hiring actors. You're going to be deciding which shows you're going to run. And then you're going to, like, they're going to bring you so many viewers because the goal is to bring in more viewers. Then you're going to also have like commercials in your things to be able to cover the cost of producing all of these different shows. And you're really definitely running. Now, at some point, once a show is kind of, because they'll produce different depending on the show. Like you'll have so many viewers at the first when because it's new and exciting, and then now the people have heard of it. Like the second season, then you'll get so many viewers, and maybe it goes up or maybe it starts to drop a little bit. And then the third season, most of the time, it starts to drop dramatically. You get less viewers and so on. And I don't think it goes more than 4 seasons. So you get the final season, but you can at any time decide that, okay, we're done running this series because it's not producing enough anymore. So we're going to put it into your reruns. And then you got to bring in new and exciting shows. And there's different type of shows that you can have. Like you'll have reality TVs, or you'll have some action shows. Action shows are exciting, but they're going to cost you more for the special effects. And all of these different things that come into play, you got to keep that in mind as well. But, and also like, where do they fit time wise? Like, where did they get slot in? Right. Like, and the thing is, it's interesting. Like it's very punny. Like there's a lot of like pun jokes in the name of the series. But like, so you might have like a knitting show, but those ones you're going to put them like in the early in the morning because you don't have as many viewers interest later in the evening or whatever, but it's going to be like the low viewed one. And then you can kind of bring in bigger things, but then your actors need to be paid more money if it's more popular. Then if there's more special effect, you need to have more money to cover for that. So you'll need to make sure you have commercials as well. The whole thing is so interesting, and it's definitely an economic. You're running a business here. We're running a TV network, and you need to make sure that everything is producing. And then when to decide to to stop a series and make it become reruns and stuff. Like the whole thing is so interesting. I really like this game. This is a game I haven't played like in the last couple of years, and I really need to play it again because every time I played it, I was like, okay, this was so good. And I played this one with Patrick, and he did so well with it. Like I think he just whooped us. It is like so, but it's like a game full of interesting decisions. Of course, you're kind of at the mercy of what's available in the market, basically the cards that are available to purchase for sure. But it's just every decision you got to make is like neat, interesting decisions. And I enjoy this game quite a bit. And that's the Networks.
Yeah, this is a neat game. Completely different theme than, I don't think you see this one. There's maybe one other game that it's about movies, but
yeah.
Such a cool thing. I want to play this one again.
Yeah.
It's a cool one. Good choice.
Thank you.
Right. My number 7 is Last Will. Now, this is a Vladimir Suchi game. Suchi, which is also, I got a couple of his in here. The first one was Shipyard. So this is the second one I have. Now, this one is such a different game because in most games you're trying to make the most money, you're trying to have the most of everything basically. This one, it's a complete opposite. You are trying to lose everything as much as possible and be in the most amount of debt that you possibly could. It's basically Brewster's Millions, the board game. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but it was a movie about now what was the actor's name? I can't think of his name. He's an awesome actor, but he came into some money from his uncle, his rich uncle. And what his uncle made him do, he said, I want you to spend all this money. I can't remember what the amount was. It was a ridiculous amount of money. You need to spend this money in this short amount of time. And he was like, well, why would I need to do that? But so he went and tried to spend all this money, but at the end he didn't do it. And somehow there was a loophole and he ended up making it. Well, then he gave him like billions and billions of dollars. I don't think he knew that that was going to happen, but in this game, you are literally just trying to lose everything. So you're trying to buy low and sell, or sorry, buy high and sell low, which is the complete
Yeah.
opposite of what you usually want to do. And you are trying to spend money in different, like, you know, you're going out on the yacht, you're taking your dog and your horse out for supper, and all these silly things that you can spend money on, going to the opera. What else is it? You can I think there's like, you can get married, you can buy all these different things. But anyway, how you play this game is it's a worker placement game. You go to these areas to get these cards, and then you have this player mat in front of you where you can place cards. Now, the actions are neat because each round, depending where you go with your worker, you only have a certain amount of actions. And sometimes you might only have 2 actions. And that doesn't seem like a lot, because what I can only maybe play 2 cards or do 2 things, but there are cards that will give you more actions. So you can use an action to play a card that gives you 4 more actions. And you have this little action track that keeps track of everything. And then you can play different things on your board that maybe will help you every round, you know, activate something that'll let you spend money every round or something. There's a little real estate you can buy, and you're trying to, for it to lower in price so that you can sell it to next to nothing, basically. You can manipulate the market on the worker placement board so that you can purposely, you have a card in your hand that you want to buy this property. You want it to be super, super high when you buy it. You can manipulate it, and then rounds later, as it depreciates, then you can sell it when it's, you know, only $2 or something, and you can manipulate it back. It's just really cool because at first you're choosing which action you want. Do you want to take a bunch of actions and then have 3 workers, or do I want like only 2 actions and then like 4 workers? So you have to kind of balance that way. There's little things you can hire: cooks, you can have like a companion, you can have pets that like add up things and cost you more money. There's all kinds of things you can do in this game, but it's just so fun because it's just the opposite of everything you're usually trying to do. And there's just goofy things in it. Then there's this little expansion that is, you're also trying to get fired in this expansion. It's called Getting Sacked. And so you have a job and you just have to do worse and worse at this job and do things that will get you fired eventually. And it's just completely silly. Now there's another one called Prodigals Club, I think. And I don't know, I think it's a spin-off of this game. It's very hard to find, but the brothers Murph talk about that all the time. It's like one of their favorite games, and they say it's better than this one. Now, this one is really good. So I don't know how that would change it, but I think you can even add that on as an expansion to this game or something, but same kind of thing. You're just trying to be a jerk and do all these stupid things and lose all your money. But it's awesome. I love it. And that's my number 7, Last Will.
Oh, that sounds interesting. Yeah, I've never played this one.
Yeah, this was one I thought I thought you had on your list. You had. And so I relearned mine. I'm like, oh yeah, I can teach this to Mel. And then when I went to your house, I'm like, I don't think you have this game.
I don't think so.
I think you ended up.
I could and not realize, but I don't think so. We'll have to check. Yeah. But no, that one looks really cool. All right. My number 7 is a game that I purchased. Like, this is the first game that I've played like online, and it was good enough that I was like, okay, I want an actual copy of it. And then I've replayed the second version of it with you, which kind of like made it a little bit smaller, more streamlined. And that is Smartphone Inc. And then I played Mobile Markets with you, which both games are very similar. I think the biggest difference is with Mobile Markets, it kind of takes away from the map. So you lose that area control element, which honestly, I think I would have done better with that, because in this Smartphone Inc. one, you can only sell in the market that you are in. Now you were
Yeah.
like manipulating every market. So having you on another side of the map would have given me a fighting chance. Um,
True. Yeah, we didn't have
but
map. I didn't have map place to go to.
exactly, it's just every market was available to you, and you just sold it because you made cheap phones.
I did. I was one of
And
those
I went
guys.
the opposite. Like I had
Yeah.
like every available thing, but you get to sell your phones first, and you kind of had, yeah, there wasn't a lot left for me. Now what's interesting is this is you're running a business of creating phones and selling them. So as Carla was doing, you can make them very cheap and people will buy whatever is cheaper unless you offer cool accessories or apps or features onto your phone so that then they'll pay whatever price you set basically. But the cheap phones get to sell first, so now you would sell more phone, but you would sell them at a lower profit than I would sell my phones. But by the time I sold my phone and make the bigger profit, there wasn't always a lot of market left for me to sell to.
The customers, right?
Yeah. So when with this one, but otherwise it plays the same. Like you have these tiles that you gotta stack in certain ways, and what is showing is the actions you'll get to do. So but you have to kind of cover different things. So it'd be like, oh, but okay, like in the well, maybe I'll do this. Now, this is like the thinkiest portion of the game. I loved it. I have come across people who were playing it absolutely hated it
Which
because
part?
it has a complexity level to it, right? And it's a little bit abstract thinking as well. It's kind of like trying to figure out how you're going to position this so
Oh,
that it shows the action selection portion.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is the same in the card game version too. Which is nice.
Exactly. Like the board game,
Yeah.
the card game are the same in that aspect of it. In the card game, like you acquire cards that gives you like the different technology. In the board game, is you'll place cubes at the bottom that kind of unlocks different technologies that you'll have access for your phone or different things like that, or at the top, but on one of the areas. Now, this was, as I mentioned, the first game I played online, and I can't remember which platform we played in, but you would have like, and it's a big board, so you would have to kind of focus on different aspect in the thing. And I was like, always like, hold on, I'm not viewing the right thing. So learning to navigate. I can't remember if it's Tabletopia
It
or
must
which
be.
one
It's
it
not
was.
on BGA. I know that. So it must have
Yeah,
been
I
something
think it
else.
might have been Tabletopia, which was cool because it really, you are playing the game and you kind of manipulate as you're playing the game, but it took some getting used to moving things around. And then we were like on a Zoom meeting, so chatting with everybody as we were playing. So it was cool playing it that way. I'm more tactile. I prefer to have the board game on the table, but now I have this one and it's a cool one. Like, and the theme is interesting. Like we all have a phone that we're completely 100% attached to 100% of the time. So, like it's our cameras, it's our alarm clock, it's our calculators, it's our browser, and it also makes phone calls. So like it's really it's really cool. And I like the theme of it. I like this game a lot. I enjoyed the card version of it quite a bit as well. And that is my number 7, Smartphone Inc.
Yeah, good choice. I don't even know if I put the card game version in my list. That's the one I own, but yeah, because I feel like that might have made my list, but I don't think I put it in there. All right, my number 6 is Windmill Valley. This one is a Danny Garcia game. This is a fairly new designer in the last few years, and he also pumps out games that are all completely different, and different themes, different mechanics, and you name it. But I really do love his games. This one, what you are doing is you are trying to grow tulips and place them in rows. And now that's not the only thing you're doing. You're placing out windmills, kind of like a now the board is interesting because when I first seen this board, I was like, that just kind of feels like an old fashioned board, like a roll and move game. You're moving around this. Well, it's not. You're not. There's no roll and move at all. This huge area is there's all these different spaces where you can put your windmill, and you're going to place your windmill on one of your actions, and then you're going to get the actions that it's the arrows are pointing to from your windmill. And then somebody can build off from your windmill or from the middle or from there. So you kind of spread out from the middle from this on this board. What else you're trying to do is you're trying to let's see, you're building windmills, you're growing tulips. There's like a shipping aspect. You can go and place tulips on and take actions. But the real neat thing about this is your player board. It has these little gears, and in between the gears are actions, and they're pre-printed on your board. Everyone has a different one. Their left-hand side gear wheel is different on everyone's. And so it's going to spin every time you do a turn. You're going to choose if you're going to increase the water level, and depending if you do or not, that'll determine the amount of actions you get to move your gears on your board. So if you're at the bottom and you choose not to move up the water level, you're just going to move it one. So you're going to move everything one, and it's going to point to two different actions. Now, you will only get to choose one unless you have upgraded one of those actions and it has a plus on it. Then you get to do both. And the different things you can do, like I said, is place out a windmill. You can go to the market and gather tulips and plant them. You can hire workers that will give you bonuses on the top of your board, or I can't remember what they're called, but you'll place them on the bottom, and those will all be endgame points. You can go and get upgrades for your wheels and put better actions on, stronger actions that will happen when you turn your wheel again. There's a big goal that everyone is trying to accomplish and race to in the game. So it could very well be you need like 2 complete rows of one color or columns or whatnot. As you're placing these tulips on your board and planting them, you have this little grid that you place them on, and you will get bonuses every couple of times you plant on each row. But then at the end of the game, you're going to score for all your rows and columns, depending if they're all the same or all different, or if they're mixed up, you might actually get some negative points. So you have to be careful how you place all your tulips. It's just a really cool thinky game. Not super heavy. I'd say it's more medium-ish, maybe a little on the heavier side, but not a very, very heavy game. But so cool how all the stuff you're doing is just trying to accomplish points in the game. The points are the deciding factor. But the money is neat too, because you don't have physical money. You just have this little track that you move up and down, and you can never gain above, I think, $9. And you can never go below $1, I believe. But it's just, there's sometimes at the beginning money is quite tight, but then after a while you have you can build a little money engine with different actions and things and figure out how that can benefit you. You might get an end game goal that is all about money, or just all about your windmills out there, all about your workers. Like, it's just one of those cool games that there's lots of things to do, lots of ways to victory, and you just have to figure out which is the best way. We played this on our game day. That was the first time you played it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I forget how our game ended, but I think it was pretty close. Or was it? Maybe it wasn't.
You know what? Remember. I think I was in the lead, but then you passed me, and then you just kind of kept going. And because like the final score, like there's final scores in this one, right?
Yeah. Well, just the end game is basically your bottom end game goals.
Right.
I think you had a bunch of, I think that's right. You had a bunch of points in the game, but you didn't have a ton down there. And I think I had 3 high scoring ones down there, and that was just, that made just a
I think I snuck in a couple of because some of the, I don't know, I think some of the thing like I could, because you always score as well, like around your patch or whatever, and then I had managed to get a little bit in there.
Oh yes.
But yeah, just I don't think it was enough to be a true contender.
Almost all your rows and columns, I think that gave you big points. But yeah, there's different ways to go about it. but it's a really neat game, and the gear selection action thing
That was
is
a lot of
very,
fun.
very cool.
Yeah. That was Windmill Valley. Yeah, really cool looking game. And it was a neat game to play. Now, my number 6 is a game that I played with you for the first time in one of our board game marathon games days. And this is Bruxelles 1893. So I guess you're like in the new art market in this one. But with this one, and now we've played both the card game version and the board game version, and I want to say the card game version kind of represented the board game version so well.
Yeah,
like they did
really
such a good job at keeping the essence of the game in that one. But what I really like, especially with this like board game version, is how the market manipulation worked. Because you're going to be collecting these different artwork that you can kind of sell at a later time or different things. And then there'll be different colors assigned to them. And if you say, okay, well, I'm going to sell some stuff, then first you get to move the market. And depending on how much influence you have, as how much you can move it by. But it's like blue is the opposite of yellow. So if you move yellow to have a higher price, blue automatically is going to be dropped to a lower price. Which is fine if you don't own both, right? But if you own both, it's kind of like, oh man, okay, I'm gonna need to make sure I sell them like at separate times away from each other. But you're like the way that influence was really interesting. You're also collecting resources that you can spend for building. And the action selection was really interesting because the active player will kind of put a frame that will encompass like which action will be available to bid on technically. And then you'll have like the main board where you'll put your workers and you got to associate money to it to be able to accomplish that. Or you can go and do the actions for free on another place of the board. But then if you're doing the actions there, kind of wrecks your reputation. And one of your guy, if you have the most who did the free action, will kind of go to court. I don't think they ever go to jail, but they're prosecuted anyways. But everything that was into play in this one and everything that you kind of have to consider and what you want to build, and it's like, okay, well, I'll get the help of this guy and I'll keep, but then you're going to have to pay him later. So do you do it just one time or do you keep him to do it again and again, knowing that it's going to cost you at the end? Like there was a lot of interesting decision. Mm-hmm. I was really impressed with this game, and I'm so surprised that it's not talked about more because it was so good. Yeah, and that is my number 6, Bruxelles 1893.
Good choice. All right. My number 5 is Anno 1800. This is a Martin Wallace game, and I feel like this is one of his different games. He apparently made this game in a couple days. This is based off of a video. Yeah, this is based off a video game. So he basically had the. I don't know if he bought the rights or if they did the video game, like if he was part of it. I don't know any of that, but yeah, apparently it was days. And what's neat about this game is there's trading. There's a kind of like it's not the typical trading you would think of doing, but. What you do in this game is you're going to produce all these different types of resources. And there's this big board where there's all these different tiles that you can choose to produce. And how you produce them is you're going to place these cubes from the top of your board, and it's different types of workers that you're going to need to use to do that. So what you do is if I want to start producing work shirts, I'm going to have to use like a green worker and a blue worker. So I'm going to place those on my board, and I might, in order to build that, I might need to use cloth and I don't know, like let's just say a pig. That wouldn't happen, but something, right? I can't think of what the second thing would be for that. So I'm going to place those down, and then I'm going to take that tile off the board. I'm going to flip it and place it onto an open spot on my board. So now I am producing those. So now somebody else might need that, and they can very well produce one if there's one left, or they can just trade with me. And how they do that is they use these trade tokens. And so they just kind of exhaust one off their board. I get a coin from the bank. It's not no skin off their back, except that I'm getting an extra coin, but they don't have to pay it, which is nice. So there's a lot of positive player interaction in this game because you are, using other people's resources, trying to build up your ships, because at the bottom of your board you have these ships in a shipyard, and you're trying to actually build more shipyards and ships to get these trading tokens, because if you don't have them, then you can't actually use other people's stuff. And the whole thing in the game is what you're doing is you're trying to get rid of these cards that you have in your hand, and the first person to play all of their cards triggers the end of the game. There's a bunch of in-game bonuses you might be able to do, and end game goals that some of them you're racing to, kind of, because you need the most of, but a lot of them are just, if you have this you get these points, if you have this you get those points. There is one of those cards that will give you negative points for cards in your hand, so that game ends up being just a race. Like, I need to get rid of my cards as much as possible. But you do start with a big hand of cards, and some of them are gaining more workers. So you might play this card and have had to use different resources and play this card, but then you're going to gain more cards every time you gain more workers. So some cards you play and you just grab more as you go. There's different tiles you can grab to increase the size of your board, so you're exploring more of the world, and you will place a whole new tile in front of you. There's another one that will give you different shipping, trading resources that are not on the board. But when you grab that, sometimes you have to grab other cards, so you're going to have more cards in your hand. So it's kind of like a 2 steps forward, 1 back kind of game. But it's so fun. I have never played this with someone who did not like it. When you look at this game, you kind of look and go, this looks a little bit scary to me. But it's very, very simple rules. Like, you really are just purchasing or buying things with... You're not really even buying, you're building things with your workers. And then once you've used all your workers, you take a turn to refresh, and you pull everything back up to the top. You gain all your trading tokens back. You have the explore tokens, which helps you get those extra areas to build more things. And it's just like a really, really flowing game that turns are very quick, because you're just doing one of those things, and then it's the next person, and then it just moves so quick. It's not a quick game. It's probably I would say 2 hours. You could probably pop one out in an hour and a half if you all knew the game very well. But it's just a really fun, neat game, and very cool mechanics in this one. And that's my number 5, Anno 1800.
Yeah, I was impressed with this one. Good pick. My number 5 is... I don't know how old this game is, but this is one that I've owned for a while and I quite enjoy, and it's from a whole series, and that is Keyflower. So Keyflower often makes my list when we're talking about bidding games. I love the bidding mechanism of it, but this definitely has strong economic aspect to it as well. Like, you're building a new, like, you start with your homestead basically, and you're going to be bidding on these different tiles to add to your village, I guess we'll call it, because you got to match up all the roads. But then depending on what you put in there, it'll start creating different goods. And then if you're able to move certain goods to the location, you can upgrade that particular tile, and you get to flip it over, and it's going to be worth more points at the end of the game. There's different, I think it's season that you go through that will kind of bring in new tiles that you can kind of add on to your area as well. And what's kind of interesting as well is you can bid on the tile, or you can put a worker on it just to activate the action right away. You don't have to wait till you own it or till anybody owns it. But then if you do that, whoever gains that tile gains that worker you place there as extra worker. So you are providing an advantage. Now, if that's yourself, that's great. If it's another player, that's great for them. And you can also activate the tiles in the village of other players' village. You don't have to limit yourself to just what you've built, which can be a piss off if you think that, okay, great, because you're planning this. I'm going to build this so that I can activate this, so that I can create this good to move it here so I can upgrade my tile, and somebody comes and uses it. Now, you still can use it yourself if somebody has, but they've dictated the color meeple that needs to be spent to do it. And they've also made it more expensive for you, because if I want to outbid or play something where somebody's already played, I have to place one extra meeple than they already have, and it has to match the color they've put there. So it really kind of limits as to what you yourself can do now. But then the next round, more tiles come in, and you do the, like the next season, then you bidding this. And then as you kind of go, the tiles are going to be less resource creating and more kind of end game scoring, possibly, or the way that it's going to manipulate what you can do with what you have created. So you really want to make sure you get in those creation tiles, like the resource creation tiles, in early. But then it's just, the whole thing is very interesting, so, and then at the end, depending on what tiles you've collected, how you're going to score. Certain things will score, but then be like, okay, well, each gold for me is going to be worth this much because of the tiles that I've accumulated or acquired for this. I think this game is so neat. Now, analysis paralysis can be a big problem with this game because there's a lot to consider when you're playing it. And then again, because you can play on other people's, what they've built, you don't destroy anything, but you can take advantage of what they built that they were hoping to build for themselves. It can create a little bit of ruffled feathers. But this is such a neat game. Then you'll have like your little screen that hides, and then it's, if you look closely, like it's the inside of your house, and you can see how it's decorated, and all the like little details is really great in this game. But I absolutely love it. I think this is such a neat, interesting game. Every time I play, I love it. And that is my number 5, Keyflower.
Yeah, I've only played this once, I think, with you at
Really?
Oh
yeah,
or something, but
yeah,
I really enjoyed it. It was neat. All right, my number 4 is Le Havre. Now, this one is a shipyard-ish game because you're basically in a shipyard and you're gathering goods and hopefully trying to build ships to ship things. But what's neat about it is the mechanic of everything. You have all these rounds. There's quite a few rounds in the game, and you just are going to move around a rondel. You move your little ship, and it's just a straight rondel. So you can go as far as you want, but you can never go back. Now, I do not recommend this for 4 players, only because the actions you take each round in 4-player game, someone is going to get, I think, only 1 action. And in a 3-player game, I think at least everybody gets 2. Now, 1 action per round is not very much. So in it's an awesome 2-player game or solo game. 3, I think you still get even amount. I'm not 100% sure, but you move along this track, and what you land on is kind of the action, or is not the action you take. That is what is going to fill up the market. So you have all these different areas, like you can fill up wood. There's wheat, clay, and then there's fish, because you do have to feed your people at the end of every round. Then there's different I think there's cows that you can also add to the market. Now, on your turn, so as you move, that's what fills it up. Then you just choose, am I going to build something? So if you do, you're going to move your worker, which is just, you have 1 worker. You're going to move it to a spot on like a card that will allow you to build. If you build, you're going to build from the central area. There's these cards that are all placed out, but they're fanned out so that you can only build the top card of each of the stacks. You can see what's coming after that. So sometimes you're going to build something to get to like another card that you want. But as you build them, you will have to use resources. You can also buy too, but buying is quite expensive. So at the beginning of the game, it's typically everyone's building. So you will build these cards and they'll place them in front of you, and then now they are free for you to go to. Most likely, other people will have to pay. There's usually a cost on the top. Some of them are free. Most of them you have to pay. But what you're doing is you're trying to buy different resources or collect different resources and then upgrade them, and that's just flipping the tile. And once they're upgraded, they're worth more that you can maybe sell or add to other things to trade. Now, like I said, on your turn you can build. The other thing you can do is just grab a whole pile of goods in one of the areas, and that is what's neat because they build up quite a bit. And there is an area where it's just money. You can grab the pile of money. So as you're building these piles up, the choices are, oh, do I grab that huge pile of wood because then I can, it'll help me build a bunch of buildings, or do I go for that pile of money? Oh, but wait, I need fish because I need to feed my people. The decisions are interesting because there's so much of like one thing that it's like there's so many juicy things you can do. Which one is the best kind of thing?
Mm-hmm.
And then some of these buildings let you, take your fish and you can smoke them. So you can take however many fish, and you flip them over and they're worth like 2 food per person instead of 1. So they increase, they double basically. The cows, you may butcher them and turn them into hides, or you turn them into hides and meat. So 1 cow will give you, enough food for 2 or 3 people. And then you have these hides that you can either ship or sell or trade and all these things. It's just, I just love this game. It's such a unique Uwe Rosenberg, because typically he does the farming games, but this one is, based on this whole shipyard thing and about, producing these goods and then upgrading them, selling them, or shipping them. As you do actually build ships, they will provide a certain amount of food for you. So it's nice as you get closer to the end, I might have ships that already give me 10 food, so I only need to spend 5 this round kind of thing. And but it's not easy getting these ships because you have to have made sure that the shipyard is built. Now, if that's stuck kind of in the middle of one of the piles, you all need to work together to build before that so that we can get this out. And then we may have to modernize the clay or the kiln or whatever and turn the clay into what does it get turned into? The clay goes to brick. So then you need the brick. And it's just interesting how there's almost a semi-co-op here of trying to build some of these buildings so that it makes the game easier for everybody. But there's also this 2-player version, which we both have. And I know you love the 2-player version, which is really neat too, and has a completely different mechanic of how you gain the different goods, but very cool as well. But such a neat game. That's my number 4, Le Havre.
Very nice. Yes. Because I've played the 2-player version first, and I had not played this one until we had a game day here. I want to say a year ago, maybe. And it was really interesting. Now, we did a mistake because you're supposed to sort the card in its stack, and we hadn't done stacks, that. So we were getting stuff.
The shipyard was way low or something, wasn't it? We couldn't get
I think it's just we had tiles that were out there that required resources we couldn't make yet. Yeah. So it's once I think we caught on after a while and then sorted them, and it definitely flowed a lot better. So we need to try that again the right way. So, but the Le Havre, the inland port, the 2-player version, I absolutely adore that one. So great pick. All right, my number 4 is our first crossover, and that is Shipyard. I was so impressed with this one. First of all, just the game mechanism, how it works. Because you place your action, and then when you got to take your second action, that previous action you had, you remove that one. It goes to the end of the thing. It pushes it in, turns the gear. And that is just so visually pleasing to do. So I really enjoyed that one. Now, you cannot take the action that you just sent over. So the last action, it's okay, well, then that's not available now. Plus, the least used action that are still at the other end will give you the better income. But depending on what you're doing, sometimes but I really wish I could do this again, because that's what you're trying to build. And then it's so interesting. Plus, you were mentioned like where you place things is so important, because if you put the front of the boat and the end of the boat before you kind of fill in the middle, you can't shift them. It's like, okay, well, hold on, I need to fit something else. No, that's a set location.
The
And
size of it.
or if you give yourself lots of rooms, like, I got everything I need, I could send it now. No, you gotta have to make that boat that big before you can send out. So you kind of really early action really dictates what you have to do kind of later on, mostly in the boat planning aspect for sure. And then, I mean, first time we played, I just wanted to ship my boat. I shipped it way too soon. I scored almost nothing because the speed of the boat will affect the points. So you're trying to get the higher speed. And I sent it out. I was like, oh yeah, this boat's almost empty. Like, so it scored very little. It's like, well, I got the ship. But it's just a very, very interesting. I love the game. Organize it. Like, it comes with cardboard pieces that you will kind of put together and will create like a tray to hold everything with a lid. But instead of all being plastic, it is all cardboard that you build up first. And I think that was so great that it's built in there. Then you have the thing that kind of holds all the boat pieces and the market pieces that matches the board. And then that's all built ready to kind of hold everything together as well. And it's not plastic, so it's, it's more environmentally friendly, but thematically it fits well. I just thought this game was so satisfying to play and interesting as well. So that's my number 4, Shipyard.
Yeah, it's very neat. All right, my number 3 is Lisboa. This is another Vitello sort of game that I've been talking about lately. This is about rebuilding Lisboa that was destroyed from earthquakes, tsunamis, and fire. So the whole place was demolished. Now the king and the government official got together and decided, okay, we have a couple options here. Are we going to rebuild this place? Are we just going to walk away from it? Are we going to, divide it out, or what are we going to do here? And they decided they were going to rebuild Lisboa, and how they wanted to do it was very like thematically, where each street is going to have certain things on it, and each avenue basically is going to be specific. So they made all these specific streets and avenues, I believe, that they would put certain things in. And so by doing that, we as the people are trying to rebuild and trying to prosper. Basically, we're trying to rebuild this city by clearing out rubble, clearing out all the water and the damage and stuff. And those are represented by these different colored cubes. And when you do clear them out, you get to put them on your board. And as you get like a complete set, you're going to increase your ability to play cards and to hold goods. So you hold a certain amount of goods at the beginning of the game. As you get another set, you'll get to be able to have more. And what you're doing with these goods is you are producing them when you build, because you're building different shops. You might be building a library or a tool shop, and then you'll produce them. And once you produce them, you're going to get them on your board, and then you can go ship them. So you're going to have to purchase these ships that will be placed on your board and ship these goods. Every time you every time you produce them, they're going to decrease in cost. And this market never goes up. Everything just goes down. So you're trying to, you would ideally like to sell as many as possible at that high price, but the more you get, the more the price goes down. Now, there's all different things that you can do other than those few things. What your basic action is playing a card. And so it sounds simple, but there's different places to play this card. You can play it on the top of your board. You can play it on the bottom of your board. You can play it to one of the officials. And there's tons of different actions you can do, but it's just like the basic play a card and do an action. Now, the actions can spiral because after you have played a card into the middle, everybody else can follow you if they have the same favor token. Now, if they have the favor token, they still have to go through all the things where you have to pay influence and possibly money and then do those certain actions. So one turn can turn into 4 turns. Like my turn can be everybody else gets a turn. So this is where there's a length to this game. I've only played it with 2 people, so I have yet to play it with more. But we've played it fairly fast in under 2 hours, closer to the hour and a half mark. But it could probably be a longer game with more people. But very thematic, and everything seems to flow because you are, going sometimes to bribe these officials to get more actions, which makes sense. Then they will take gold or certain things that they like. And if you have them, you can do those extra actions. It's just such a cool game and so beautiful. The components are just gorgeous, which they always are in the Telesurda games, but this one especially. And this is my number 3, Lisboa.
Nice. Yeah, this is one. It looks neat. Like the color scheme of it on the board, it looks good. But yeah, I haven't tried this one. Actually, I think my only Telesurda game that I have owned and played is Kanban still. So yeah. And then even then Kanban had me so scared. It took me like years to play just because I was scared too. Because everybody's like, oh wow, Telesurda game. And I got it early. I was like, oh no. What did I do? All right. My number 3 is it's so good. And that is Tinner's Trail. I'm a big Martin Wallace fan. Now, most of the games I've played from his is like, okay, I'm really liking it. Now, in Tinner's Trail, it's really interesting because you are mining. Like you're mining, and it's the whole kind of market based on the mining. Now, at the beginning of each round, you're going to roll the dice, and it's going to set the price for like the copper and the silver that you mine. So it has like different set, like the price will vary from round to round. So that will kind of determine on what you're trying to accomplish ideally. But it also has like an area control aspect of it, because you have to own the right to be able to mine on different land. So you need to kind of bid on these different spots so that you can go and mine there. And you can mine further. Like you'll mine the first time, you can mine there again. However, it fills up with water. So you need to get the water out of the way before you can mine some more. And so that'll happen as well. You have like the worker placement aspect that kind of determine what you can do. Are you going to bid on land? Are you going to go ahead and mine? And if you're mining, how much can you mine based on the miners you have there, or the other things that'll kind of affect, like you can have both that'll increase how much you can mine if it's surrounding or by the land that you're mining. And then it's one of those that you can end your turn at any time. And if you end your turn before all the other players, you get the advantage and kind of get first crack at the market. So you get a little bit more benefits from it. Now, one thing that's really interesting with this game is to win the game is you need to have the most points. In order to get points is you need to purchase them. So basically you just buy however much points you want to have. But if you buy too much points, you are leaving yourself with less money to do all the action that you're trying to accomplish. So it has like a neat balance here, right? Like, okay, so should I buy points, but then I'm decreasing the money I have access to, or should I should I save the money so I can do some bigger actions and hopefully have more money so that I can buy more points down the road a little bit. But then, how much will the points be worth then? And am I going to be first player to be out so I get the better price on the points and stuff? So there's a lot of different things in play here. And it just works all so well. It's definitely a heavy economic game. This isn't one that I would say like, okay, my kids are interested in starting to learn game. Let's show them this one. no. Like, it's a level of complexity is a little high. And then I think for game, this theme would be a little dry, but the game is amazing. For, more established gamers, I would say. So that's my number 3, Tennis Trail. Such a great game.
Yeah, no, I haven't tried this one. I've seen it a couple of times. Our friend Murr had bought it and taught it, I think, at one of the retreats. But
he's taught this to me like twice.
Has he? Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I've played it with him twice, and yeah.
All right. So my number 2, I chose this specific game. Now, ideally, I would have had the Gallerist here. That is my favorite Vitale Lacerda game, but I talk about it all the time. So I chose Vinhos this time. Vinhos would be probably my second favorite of his so far. But this one is a game about wine. You are growing grapes. You are building vineyards, growing grapes, aging grapes, and then selling them to, turning them into wine and then selling them at a fair. You're also showing them at this fair and trying to get the most points out of that. You could be shipping wine to get money. Money is points. You will be doing all kinds of things in this game. But the neat thing is you only have 9 actions in the whole game because there's 3 rounds and you get 3 actions each round. It doesn't sound like a lot, but some of the actions can turn into possibly more. You have this little 3x3 grid, and that is where you're moving your worker around. So you will move it one spot. You can pay to move it more, but if somebody is there, you're going to have to pay money to them. If the time marker, which is the time tracker, is in your spot, you also have to pay. There's only a few actions you can take. You can get more vineyards. You can, I'm just going to look at the grid here. You can hire different workers that will increase the value of your wines when you're going to sell them or going to show them. You can go somewhere to ship them. You can go somewhere to sell them. There's different areas you can go, but only like 9 spots, and 2 of them are the same, which I think is getting putting them in the cellars so you can build up better cellars that will age them quicker, or they'll last longer, because as they age, you slide them over on your playing board, and if they go to the end and you haven't used them, they are just going to rot and you'll lose them. So you have to manage that as well. It's just a beautiful game, though. There's 2. The newer version has 2 ways to play it. So there's one where it's I don't know, I would say it's a little bit simpler, and then the other side is the old way, because this was a game that was remade as well, just like Kanban. So he had a certain version and then remade it and made a second version of it so you could play it 2 ways. I have still yet to play it with the bank. I wanted to learn it this last time, but when we played it, we still played it the old way just because that's the way I knew it. Most people prefer the bank. Playing with the bank, it's a little bit trickier, but it is a completely different game because it takes out some of the shipping, I think, and stuff like that. I haven't tried this version yet, but it's neat that you can play this big game 2 ways. It is a heavier one, takes a little bit of time. I've only ever played it with 2 again, so this one I have not played with more than 2 people, so it could be a longer one. I have literally spilt a glass of wine on this game.
Oh no, I guess it's thematic.
Everything completely wiped off. Like you would not even know that there was red wine spilt on this board. But yeah, the components in this one are awesome. And that's my number 2, Vinhos.
Very nice. Yeah, this is another one that I haven't played yet. So, yeah. Well, Vitale Lacerda, I was scared. All right, my number 2 is a second crossover, and that is Anno 1800. Another Martin Wallace game. So I was so impressed with this one. It was just so interesting. There's so much, like, the game looks daunting, but it's not that complicated. But there's a lot going on. Like, because like you want to be okay, these are the markets you start off with that you can generate these goods. That's great. And these are the workers you need to send there that will generate those goods, and that's good. Or you'd be like, okay, well, I'm going to build this new one. Yes, I understand it's the same as that one, but it used this other worker, so then I can upgrade my workers to these, which is good. So, and they'd be like, and then you were like, we're playing and be like, oh, by the way, guys, I'm now making, I don't know, it was like steering wheels or something. It's like, oh my God, that's good. So then, and it's good because you want to get the benefit of people utilizing the good that you have, but them utilizing that good doesn't stop you from being able to utilize your own good either. Yeah, exactly. And then there's a benefit as well to utilize another person's good instead of you making it yourself, because I don't think you have to assign a worker to it then.
No, you just use your trade tokens.
You just do the trade action. But you are limited on that as well. So the whole thing works so well. I was so impressed with it. It was such a neat, thinky game, like it was. And you're playing, and I did horrible. I lost. This was the last game of the day, and I think we ended the game at like 1:00 in the morning. And it's a lot for the brain for how late it was, but it was so good. It was so good. And then I very enjoyed this. It was a fairly simple one to grasp and get playing. But yeah, there's so many things that you can decide and choose, and what you want to be like, oh yeah, I forgot about these special goods. That is like, okay, what do I like? So it was good. I really, really enjoyed this one. You have talked about this game many times, and you were saying, as Melanie, I think you'll love it. And you were
I knew you would love this
spot on. I love this one. It's good. I don't own it yet, but I will. Yeah. I will eventually. This is one that I'm going to want to add to my collection. And that's Anno 1800.
Nice. All right. My number 1. Now, I chose this one because when I looked up all the different economic games, all the farming games are included in economic games. Now, I love the farming games, but I chose this one because this felt the most economical to me, because it has literally an open market right in the game. And this is Clans of Caledonia. So this is a Juma El Juju game. And he has finally come out with an expansion. This is an older game. I think it's 10 years old, maybe not quite 10 years old. I'll have to look it up after, but he's finally coming out with one, which is in production right now, but sadly they've halted it because of the tariffs. So we could be waiting for a while for this to come, because it was Kickstarted. But even the base game is awesome. You are placing out different factories and trying to produce these goods, whether it might be a farm for cows or sheep. You might have a cheese factory, you might have a wheat farm, and then you might increase into bread and whiskey. And so you're placing these on this map, which you're also trying to connect all your areas within shipping range, because these are going to give you points at the end. But then you have this little market that you can go to buy and sell goods. And of course, every time you buy, things are going to go up. And then when you sell, is it down? When you buy, things will always increase. And when you sell, they go down, obviously. But it's neat because it's a sliding market. So somebody else may go in the same turn and do the same thing. And so this market can fluctuate every round, kind of thing. And you only have a certain amount of merchants. Now you can always purchase more merchants so that you can sell or buy more things. And the reason you're buying and selling these is because you're trying to complete all these contracts. And the contracts are interesting because you might have to have some wool, you might have to have some cheese, but then you might have to have 3 slabs of like mutton chops. So now to do that, I need to butcher some of my sheep from the sheep farms that I put out. So I'm going to have to take those off the map. And when I take them off, it might disconnect my connected shipping, different areas. So now I need to go put more factories back out there, but somebody else could very well, do that before me, and that could close off all my shipping lines. So it's interesting how you kind of all start kind of in an area of the board, and then you start to spread out and you meet each other, and then you try to move around people, because there's also these four corners of the map that if you can reach them, there are these cool bonuses. It might give you like a couple free meat. It might give you $10. It might give you, you get to trade a good for 2 more goods or something. And they're all really interesting. So you really do want to spread out and get those bonuses. But at the same time, you kind of want to keep your areas together so that you have these shipping lines for the end of the game. The board is neat because you have all the animals on your board. So there's nothing outside it. So you're only producing what you have, and you're only going to make that many factories of what you have. You also have workers that you might put out just to kind of spread out the lines. You have these like mountaineers and lumberjacks that you put out, and they will gain you some income at the end of the round, the more of them that you have out. Also at the end of the round, if you have like cows out and sheep and wheat, you're going to gain those resources. And then if you have a cheese factory, you're going to choose, okay, do I want to turn my milk into cheese, or do I want to keep it as milk, sell it at the market? Well, wait, cheese is worth more. So I'm going to sell it because I need a bunch of whiskey for my contract. So you're just really trying to, produce these things and sell them at the highest price possible. It's a very, very cool game. I love this game. Play it on BGA all the time. There's different factions. Everyone has a different faction, and it's based in the Highlands. So it's like a Scottish theme game where you're going to be one of the clans, and they each do something different, which is neat because you kind of need to work to that strength of the clan in order to, have your best game. And sometimes you get one and you're like, okay, I need to do this, but I still want to do all these other things. If you don't focus on what you should be doing, you're going to fall behind. But such a cool game. I love this one, and that's Clans of Caledonia.
Yeah, I want to try this one day. It looks good.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, my number one game is we're running a business. It's kind of a new business, like it's venturing into new territories here, and that is Galactic Cruise. So in this one we are going to be doing cruises in space. So we need to build our rockets to be able to send people to space. We need to plan like what type of exciting rooms there's going to be in this rocket. We're going to be visiting different, I guess, space station that have different activities as well that'll appeal to different people, like your visitors, I guess. But then you also need to sell these, like you're going to pre-sell tickets for people to go on these cruise, but you can also do like some last minute sales. And some of the guests that's going to be going on these cruise are more motivated and ready to go, so they'll be cheaper to sell to them, like to advertise to them, while some will take kind of more convincing. And then when they're in space, to take advantage of the rooms that you have, because you'll have 3 different type of people that you're going to be kind of talking into these trips. So you'll have the adventurers that like the thrill seeking adventures, right? You'll have the leisure people. They're just there to, have a nice leisure vacation, and they're just there to have, like a good time. And then you'll have the family, so they'll have their kids with them, so they'll look more for like family friendly activities. So each of the rooms that you'll build will kind of attract one type of guests. Some will will work for both, like sometimes adventurers or family will like a certain attraction. But when you stop at the different planets, you definitely need extra convincing. It's like, okay, let's stop and go on this excursion. And then if it's your leisure people and it's on the purple planet, they're fairly easy to convince to go. The other ones are going to require more advertisement to be spent to talk them into going there. But the more people you have there, the more you're going to get in return for them taking advantage of these different things. So like the whole concept of it is really interesting. And this is a worker placement game. So you have to kind of go around, and the whole goal is to send these people on these cruise. But it's all the work that you need to do to get it ready to do that. So pre-sell your tickets, build your rocket, add these different things, have the necessary resources to complete that, because you're going to need to send them with rocket fuel so that they can complete the trip. You're going to need to make sure there's oxygen so they don't all die in space. You're going to need to make sure that they have food so that they can be sustained while they're in space. So there's the resource management aspect of it. There's the building or the rocket management aspect of it, the selling, like the whole thing is you're definitely running this cruise business into space. I mean, this game could just have easily been about just regular cruise. I think the space thing makes it kind of a little bit more exciting, maybe. But this game is so well designed. It's so satisfying to play. And the components are amazing. The storage solution that they've put for everything to work is just unreal. This, I find like games like Galactic Cruise really sets the bar for what a board game could be, and every aspect of it, that they're really kind of like, you know, top of the line. If you can make a game that's like this, you're gonna have a great successful game. But it's been one that I've like, I mean, it's a new release. It's just recently kind of came out this year. I've taught it a couple of times. It can be a little bit lengthy to teach, but the iconography is nice to follow. So it's kind of well explained as to what you can do. And once you grasp and kind of go over what all the actions can be, it's fairly straightforward to play, and there's not tons and tons of questions after the teach. But it's a satisfying game to play. I really have enjoyed every gameplays I've done of this. And everybody I've taught it to seem to have really enjoyed it as well. We did play it way wrong the first time. And I think that would have affected what we did. Every time you went up on the reputation track, we collected every resources we passed.
Oh, right. You said that.
Right. You really don't do that. So that changed things a little bit, but it's just such a well-designed game, and it's so good. And that is my number one, Galactic Cruise.
Yeah, this is a really good game. I've just played it the once at your house, but definitely have to play this one again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
All
Perfect.
Right,
so that was
crossovers.
Yeah, that's it. Like for a style, a genre that we both enjoy quite a bit.
Yeah.
There's a lot of games in this category, so not that much for crossovers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, there was tons that didn't make my list, but were close. Like Finca was one. Furnace was another one. Nice.
Yeah, Furnace was on my
game.
List as well.
On your list. Honey Buzz, that's a economic game too, which is really neat. At the Gates of Loyang is a neat one too. You were literally just growing vegetables and selling them to customers, which is neat. But lots and lots of games. It was a hard one to dwindle down to for me.
Yeah.
Next time we're going to talk about some hidden gems that we love that just don't get talked about, or you never hear about them, and they
not
just
really hidden gems. We just talked about it's more like a new version of a game.
Oh no, this is. Oh well, those are two different themes. Which one do you want to do?
I don't know. I wrote down but original. Okay, but are we doing hidden gems?
Yeah, that I had that one. And then that other one was a completely different topic. But we can do that one first if you choose.
No, that's okay. Whichever one. I'm okay. I'm okay either way. So, yeah. But yeah, I was like, that's not what we just talked about.
Yeah, no, so we're going to do hidden gems, and then our next one is going to be, after that, will be games that are basically second versions of games that we find are better or the same. And meaning, like a roll and write version, a duo version, a dice version, sometimes
Or
just a
reprints as
smaller
well, yeah.
version of the game. And there's a lot of them. There's a ton
Yeah.
of duos and duels coming out lately.
Yes.
And some of them are better. Some of them are just as good. But so it's nice because then you have that option of, okay, well, there's this 2-hour version of the game, but I really love that game, but I have an hour right now. Oh, well, here's the smaller version of the game. We can play this right now and get, you still get the feel of the game. So that'll be interesting. But
Yeah.
so
But
that'll
hidden
be our
gems
next
first.
Yeah, hidden gems first.
Sounds good. Just so I know which list to make. Didn't we do that once where I did the list and you did the list and we didn't do the same list? Like,
I think so.
it happened once a couple of years ago. Luckily, you had a few lists ready, so
okay. Maybe I might have got confused.
Yeah.
But
nice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, until next time, where can people find you, Mel?
So be sure to join our Discord. We have lots of conversations going on in there. It's been great.
Yeah.
I am on Instagram at Mel's_boardgame_room. We're also on Facebook, Mel's Board Game Room, and I have a YouTube channel called Mel's Board Game Room. How about you, Carla? Where can we find you?
I'm on Instagram at boardgamespecialist, all one word, and on Facebook I have Red Deer Board Game Fanatics.
Perfect.
Well, that's it for this week, but stay tuned for our next episode, and thank you all for listening.
Bye, everybody.